Hi there, it's Jennifer Hough once again. That is Hough. It's my own name, I should know. This is the Thriving Life podcast, and I'm so glad you're here with us. It's a beautiful day here in Asheville, and it's a great day to be talking about not overthinking. I wonder if you've ever felt yourself this thing where your mind spirals. It's like something's really important to you, and then your brain gets a grip on it, and you just have to keep thinking about it or trying to find a solution. There's a level of attachment that's there that has you not feel like you can let go. And also, it's exhausting. Overthinking is really exhausting. And if you notice that when you overthink things and you come up with like, oh, my best case scenario, what ends up happening is it's all based on history, right? And so you come up with an okay solution, but if you want a transcendent solution that's beyond what your mind can conceive, as long as you're saying that you are going to overthink this thing, it means that it's all you and there's no contribution coming from anywhere else. So you're not going to get the transcendent results. And if you're like me, I'm more interested in those or better results, in those results that go beyond the everyday, that surprise and delight. Um, and I'm also not about being exhausted. Are you? I doubt it, you know? So today we're going to talk about when you just get that monkey mind and how to stop that. Uh, it's like doom scrolling in your head. How do you do that? Well, let's address it. Few things. First of all, I'd love to hear from you in the comments always. Please put your questions in your comments. We love that. I'm always looking over there. Where are you from? What are you doing? What are you up to? What's your word for the day? Love to hear that. Always, always. And as far as what's next, I did want to chat a little bit about, you know, why you want to stick around, because we're going to talk about the skills one needs in order to, one, move forward in a spiral rather than staying stuck in a circle of overthinking. Like, how do you actually break free of that incessant need to overthink, right? So the second thing we're going to talk about is, how do you get yourself receptive to the answers that you're seeking that are transcendent of the ones that you're so attached to getting? How do you get those um or better results? How do you get those, oh my gosh, I never in a million years would I have known that kind of answers to the things that we noodle? And the last thing is, how is it that we can maintain flow, especially when the propensity is to overthink things, right? So we're going to give you some tools today. I'm so excited to share them with you. Yummy, yum, yum. Just good stuff. And things that maybe you hadn't thought of before, activities and actions that you can take that are going to be something that you can integrate into your everyday. In the meantime, just want you to know that as we pause here, if you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed or disconnected, we're doing sorry guys, I'm tongue tied. Yeah, if you're feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or you feel disconnected these days, or you have a habit of that, even if today's a great day, we're doing a free 3-day challenge, and I'm going to guide you through some physics-based tools that'll help you shift from a sense of doubt and uncertainty and lack of clarity to be able to find that instant flow and a certainty about your clarity, a consistent certainty about, we're over the 3 days, we're going to do 3 exercises that we're going to do together for 24 hours, and we're going to report back. It's powerful, powerful way to play together, and you're going to see how quickly things can shift just by joining this 3-day challenge. So you just have to join us at thewideawakening.com/challenge. And I'm just so appreciative of you being here with us today. And I'm appreciative if you're joining the challenge. You're going to join us at noon on you're going to join us, and you'll get all the details in an email that will follow up once you register. Okay. Totally free. Come and play. Yippee yahoo. All right, you guys, let's go. Let's talk about how to. Now, I want to say that I used to be an overthinker. Okay. Now, oh my gosh. And it would sabotage me from getting stuff done. I have a story where actually, I'm thinking of a client too. I'll share her story as well, but see if you can relate to this. I remember uh, this gentleman who was the husband of one of my clients, and I was doing this huge project, and he piped in and started saying that I wasn't being on the up and up. Nobody is that generous. He started being very cynical and skeptical about me. And my body went into protection and defense mode where I felt like I had to engage him to prove to him, to have him get me somehow. And so I spent 3 weeks of my life, including the work that I was, so I was doing work, I was running the company, I was doing all the things that I normally do. And meanwhile, back at the ranch, I was also spending at least 2 hours a day thinking about, worrying about, being caught in this concern I had about this human being that didn't get me. When I gotta say, there's probably hundreds or thousands of people that don't get me, just like in your life. We're not supposed to be gotten by everyone, but I hooked into it. And my brain just on that particular subject, round and round in circles, always trying to build a bridge between he and I. But within the first couple of days, he showed me that there was no bridge to build. This man was not going where I was wanting to take him. It just wasn't going to happen. But I kept going, noodling it, trying to figure it out. I'm thinking also of a client right now who works corporately, and it's very interesting because what will happen is so in my case, that was something where I wasn't being gotten or wasn't being seen. And it took me down the wormhole of just being incessant about trying to think about how to build a bridge. This incident that I'm going to share right now, maybe you can relate to this as well, is that one of my clients, very, very smart woman, she's an executive in a big company, and her higher ups, her president and vice president that are in charge, will say things based on other meetings or, the board of directors giving them information that she doesn't know about. And then they'll give her directives or be upset with something she did or come across like they're saying, no, don't do that, do this. And she'll spend hours in her head trying to figure out what she did wrong. So that's more about, what did I do wrong? How can I gain approval? And you got to get, this is a grown ass woman in her 60s, right? Everybody does this, and she's highly educated. And so no one is immune. We all do it. The question is, why do we do it first? Let's look at why we would possibly do it. One of the first reasons that came to mind as I was looking at this is those two examples show you a couple of reasons why. But I'm going to encapsulate both of those stories into one reason, and that is there's something from the past that was traumatizing or volatile, or really scary, causing PTSD, where you decided in your mind, whether you said it out loud or not, and you probably didn't, you decided in your mind, that's never going to happen to me again, or I have to make the world safe enough, or I have to be good enough, or I have to be educated enough in order to make sure that that never happens again. And so as soon as you get a whiff of something that feels like you're not good enough, or something that feels like you're going to get it wrong, or something that feels like, something dangerous is going to happen, as soon as you get a whiff of that feeling, what happens is your amygdala, the fight or flight response kicks in again, even though in front of you is not that same situation. And then what'll happen is, instead of, now here's the key, my friends. You know what it feels like to be in flow, to shake and bake, to have ideas coming at you and feel like the world is your oyster. You know what it's like. It feels great. It feels amazing. It feels like life has you in its arms, doesn't it? It feels like, yes, it feels like a big, kind of yes with life. Life is like yesing you and you're yesing life. And it's like this beautiful, it's like a waltz. But as soon as you start to noodle things, it feels like a wrestling match. This is how physics works. Whenever you have a problem, the field, the metaphysical field, actually, through the laws of entanglement, already has multiple possibilities for solutions. But those multiple possibilities for solutions require that you don't act like a lone wolf, which is the second problem, right? The second reason why we get into being all up in here. When you say I'm on my own here, which is probably what you said when you were in that situation from your past where something was volatile or scary or didn't turn out as you planned, or felt dangerous, whatever it was, when you get into that reaction, you instantly go into, I've got to figure this out myself. The instant you do that, consciousness, life, feels you disconnect from the availability of the field that holds all the answers. So now your reference point is not all of consciousness, is not life itself, is not everyone who's ever been through what you've been through and came up with miraculous answers, that the answers already exist in the field. Nope. Instead, your reference point is your history-based brain, your personal, not infinite, not filled with life's resources brain, your history-based storage unit of the experience that you've had, either through your life or by watching it on television. Based on that, you're literally going to go in circles in your life. Why? Because if it's history-based, then you're going to get results similar to what you've had before, because that's where you're looking for the information when you decide that you're going to try to do it all yourself in your head. Does this make sense? Okay. So, third issue is that, so I want to touch on, so you've taken yourself out of the flow of the entire universe, which, by the way, in a minute, we're going to talk about how to get back into that and get out of fight and flight so you can actually drop into the infinite answers that you couldn't possibly come up with, those or better answers that we love to talk about. And the last thing that I want to say is about that lone wolfiness that I just expressed to you. Why do we do lone wolf? Because lone wolf is a huge issue when you are in your head. That's what directs you to your head. When you're all by yourself, you do not have higher levels. You do not have greater guidance. You certainly don't. So I'm going to figure this all out myself. Usually also there's another variable. You're probably carrying your family, carrying your finances, carrying your children, carrying your boss, carrying whomever, meaning you're worrying about what they think or the results that might happen. Right? We want those infinite answers, my friends. Exactly. So lone wolf, why do we do it? There's a reason why we do lone wolf. One is that if to our whole family, okay, they've never seen us, they've never gotten us, in order, in my case, to prove it to that man, I can't remember his name now because it was 20 years ago. I was noodling it over and over and over again because I didn't feel gotten or seen in my school. I felt like I was very much unseen all the way around in my life when I was younger. And so in order for someone to get you, since you've already decided that no one else gets you, then the only person that can prove that or build that bridge is you. Because if nobody gets you, how convenient for your ego. If no one else gets you, then it's all going to be up to you. Now you've cut out infinite wisdom. You're not in the flow with all that is. Here's another reason. If in fact, at some point in your life, you were trying to get it right and something volatile or scary or dangerous happened, and maybe it happened a few times, what happens is that in order to, and you've dawned the perspective that in order to get out of those kinds of cycles, you have to do it yourself because no one else had your back then. And so you have to figure out how to get it right. The next thing is not being validated. That's another, when you're not validated, what happens is in order for people to say that you are enough, so in other words, when you feel that you know you're not enough, you're not lovable, you'll spend the rest of your life in the situations that I'm talking about. You'll spend the rest of your life trying to get that validation, but you can't get help if you're trying to validate yourself. If you get help, that doesn't validate your worth or your love or your anything. You can't be given to by anyone else. Because in order to validate yourself, it can't involve anyone else's input by definition. Then if you were to get validation, it wouldn't be anyone validating you. It would be them saying great job, but all these other people would have contributed. You get what I'm saying? So it's a game you don't want to play. And the cost of doing all of this, like if you're someone that stays in her head or his head, the cost of all of this is deep. You probably already know. One is it's exhausting. It costs energy because instead of, the entire universe is spiraling. The galaxy is a spiral. You've seen pictures of galaxies. They're spirals. But the spiral isn't standing still. The spiral is moving through space at millions of miles an hour. Earth itself doesn't go around the sun. Earth itself is flying through space in a whole solar system that's flying through space in this galaxy. So we're in a spiraling galaxy that then is spiraling through space at about 55,000 miles an hour. Our DNA, the actual double-stranded helix that gives us our characteristics and really is interactive at the center of our cells with the rest of our body all day, every day. Your DNA is a spiral that's constantly changing. So here we are in a universe that's built on spiraling, not circling. So you have to understand that rehashing something based on history in your head is contra the very fabric of life. That's why it feels like you're stuck. You're not stuck. The feeling you're having is the feeling of going contra the natural cosmic forward momentum of life. And there's nothing wrong with having problems. Problems catalyze solutions. But the solutions that you get that transcend your history-based mind can only come from outside of that history-based mind. It really is about 3 things. So how do we actually live in flow? So we're getting to those answers. So the first thing is, since it's kind of this addictive cycle when we're in fear, the first thing one needs to do is disrupt the pattern of the meh, 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 right? The fear-based pattern. You have to have a way to disrupt the pattern. So for me, for instance, recently I was looking for a new car. And I am very used to being independent and figuring it out myself. And so I realized that I was really attached to getting the right car, the car that's perfect, the car that's, I got to look in every consumer reports, I got to go and look at all the prices, all the, it has to be the most efficient way for the best car, it's kind of, I noticed that I was in that cycle, thinking about it every day. And then I went, what am I doing? So how do I disrupt the pattern in my head? Well, the first thing I did was, wait a second, thinking about it isn't good. I went and test drove some cars. I've test drove, I don't know, 3 or 4 different cars of different brands. And I realized which one I really liked. And then I thought, okay, now I have one that I like. I moved the energy, right? I disrupted the pattern. So I'm going to give you another example of that. If I have a lot to do at work, emails, for instance, looking over emails and making sure that they really represent what it is that we're trying to communicate, I can get all heady about getting that right. It's incredible. And what I did was I disrupted the pattern by actually going outside. I walked all the way around a block. The block here is 3 miles long, so it's a long block. I'm out in the country in the mountains. And so I disrupted the pattern. I took a spaciousness break. I went to feel good. And in the process of doing that, I'm like, oh my gosh, we already have a trained AI that can actually get this closer to my voice. I have 10 emails in front of me, and I'm like, oh, these emails, it's gonna take me forever. It's gonna take so long. And then a landing page for business, and I'm like, oh, it's gonna take so long. But I already trained my ChatGPT to really be in the playful, connected, heart-based voice. And so I ran them through that, and then I looked at the emails and adjusted them and made them my own and all that kind of stuff. But the heavy lifting was done because it got closer to my voice and I didn't have to rethink it. And then, I was given all sorts of tweaks that I needed to make in my own voice, and it was just great. But that would never have happened. I wouldn't even have thought of it if I didn't go for that walk. So disrupting, making sure in this disruption mode, you have to decide how long you're willing to spend going around in circles. I give myself 10 minutes, 10 to sometimes a half an hour, but that depends on the subject. But let's say I give myself 10 minutes basically. If I have to think about from something, I have a divine intolerance. 10 minutes is my max on certain aspects of my life that are less crucial. And I give myself a half an hour on things that are a little more crucial. But that's my limit. I walk away after that and go and garden, go for a walk, play with the dog, anything that feels good. The pattern interrupt is everything, because as long as you're struggling, you're educating and training consciousness that you're willing to go through a lot of struggle, and you don't want or better answers. You want answers that come from your history-based mind. That's what you're training consciousness to. Okay. All right. Second thing is that we have to make a difference in now what we just said makes a difference around receiving, but the second thing is about deliberately being a powerful receiver. One of the best ways to become a great receiver is to make sure that you get really good sleep, because a lot of answers are going to come in your sleep. Last night, for instance, I decided that I was going to do a bone broth cleanse, right? I decided I was going to be this is my next level cleanse, is what I'm going to do. Yippee. I've never done it before. And I decided it in my dreams. My dreams actually gave that to me. So the most out of your way you're going to be is in your dreams. I'm going to recommend a couple of things. If you want to be able to remember dreams that will give you the or betters, you spend a third of your life in dream mode, which is your most receptive state. So you really do want to be able to remember the ones that are especially instructive or inspiring. Yeah. So, all right. You want to remember those. It's important. So there are 3 factors that are crucial in order to remember your dreams. Or in order to remember your dreams in your sleep. 1, you have to sleep well. I highly recommend taking something like Calm for sleep every night to calm the brain. It is a certain kind of magnesium with some other factors in it that will help you. Make sure you check out the ingredients first to make sure they resonate with you. The second thing is, if you're stressed at all, and these days I think everyone is to some degree, it really does help to supplement with a stress B complex. Just take it at breakfast and at lunch. You won't believe how much it helps. Last is, have a little cup of ashwagandha tea before you go to bed. And this is all, of course, nourishment. On the other side, I do recommend that you get a journal that you keep beside your bed, so that in the off chance that you are someone that has dreams and then you don't tend to remember them even though you think you should, or even though you swear that, oh no, I'll remember this, no problem. Just have a journal beside your bed with a pen that you can just wake up, grab, write it down, and go back to bed. Yeah? Okay. Last is, there's so much more to say about receptivity. We're actually going to do an exercise in that 3-day challenge I told you about. So around receptivity that has nothing to do with your dreams, it has to do with being receptive even during your waking hours. By the way, I walked into Publix and bone broth was half price, 2 for 1. So it's so funny. It was right in the middle aisle as soon as I walked in. Last is the lone wolf thing. When it comes to being a lone wolf, the recommendation for something to do around lone wolfiness, like I have to do it all myself, is for every little project, get into the practice of asking at least 3 people for stories about the projects that you're working on, or about parenting, or about being a leader. Deliberately seek to ask, and consciousness is going to get trained that you are interested in external output, including infinite wisdom, including your greater wisdom. When you start doing things, not intending, but doing things that show consciousness that you're interested in outside input, you just watch how much you get served up. All right. Before we go here today, remember the 3-day challenge. We are on a mission in times of great change to be able to find flow. We're going to be doing exercises you have probably never done before. They're not just tools. They're ways to shift your entire relationship to life so that your natural state is flow. We want to make sure, and the link is right there for you. We want to make sure together that we are not being taken out by or distracted by a world full of shiny objects and scary things. When we can stay in flow, it's like we're being constantly given to, like bone broth, and going into the right store. I'm so glad that you guys are here today. I hope this really helped you to understand that it is fear that gets us into overthinking and lone wolfiness, and that there are things to do, so much more than that. I can't wait to play with you in the 3-day challenge. And in the meantime, I'm just thanking my producer. Make sure you follow us, you guys. Share us on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Share us with your friends. Send this to someone you know it would make a difference for. That's how we get out in the world, and that's how we shift the world. All right, you guys. Big hugs. Have a great rest of your day.